Hey transformative leaders and trauma survivors, it's sophilialarkwoodbury of thehappymedium.com. So maybe you've heard of complex PTSD, but you're still confused about how that differs from standard PTSD. In this video, I'll explain exactly what it is and how you can recognize the signs. For the best trauma recovery tips, tools, and strategies, be sure to subscribe by hitting that subscribe button and click that notification bell so that you'll never miss a video when I upload new content every single Wednesday. Back everyone, if you're new here, I am a licensed professional counselor, a trauma recovery coach, and a certified clinical trauma specialist, helping people and organizations resolve the effects of trauma and build resilience. The International Classification of Diseases, 11th version, describes complex PTSD as a condition resulting from exposure to a traumatic event or a series of traumatic events that are extremely threatening and entrapping in nature. And it generally happens over a prolonged period of time in the context of an interpersonal relationships. Now, the symptoms of complex PTSD often overlap with standard PTSD and borderline personality disorder. So how do we know what we're looking at when we're trying to understand, distinguish what is C-PTSD and traditional PTSD or borderline personality disorder? Well, here are some signs. Since complex PTSD shares most of the symptoms of standard PTSD, you typically see experiences from the four clusters of standard PTSD. So there is the cluster of what we call intrusive symptoms, where a person re-experiences the event in the form of thoughts or unwanted thoughts or memories that just sort of kind of like pop up. And then those can be experienced as nightmares or flashbacks. And then you have the arousal cluster, where a person is easily startled, or hypervigilant, they can't seem to concentrate, those kinds of things. Then there's the avoidance cluster, where they avoid reminders of the traumatic event in a number of ways. So it can be avoiding certain people, places, or things, or they can avoid the thoughts in a way where they numb through food, through sex, through alcohol and drugs. And then you have negative cognition and mood. So a person may have a negative view of themselves, the world, and other people, which can be evidenced by, the way that they think about, maybe the world is not a safe place, or they can't trust anybody, or they think they're a bad person. And those are the things that you typically see in terms of how complex PTSD and standard PTSD connect. Now, what makes complex PTSD complex is the noticeable addition of some other symptoms that are not seen in standard PTSD. And these symptoms are emotional dysregulation, a negative self-concept, and extreme relationship difficulties. So what you would normally see here is a person who has emotional dysregulation, or their emotions are so dysregulated that they cannot function in their environment. So they may have extreme anger or rage or explosiveness or aggressiveness that not just puts them at risk, but it puts other people at risk. It scares people off. Or they may have this ongoing sadness, almost like a deep, morbid depression, where they're not able to pick themselves up, to get out of bed, to function in any capacity, to help themselves. And that is one of the things that you don't typically see in standard PTSD. Then you have a negative self-concept. So remember how I talked about with the symptoms of standard PTSD that a person may have a negative view of themselves, other people, and the world. Well, a negative concept in complex PTSD is often present, where a person, over an extreme period of time of being abused, they've developed a certain belief about themselves, and that is that they are worthless. They're damaged goods. They can't be repaired. And they may even feel like they deserve the abuse. And that is the difference. In PTSD, a lot of times people already have a self-concept. They know who they are. They just realize that they don't really feel like themselves anymore. The person who struggles with complex PTSD may not even know that they don't have a self. They don't feel like they have an identity, and that's the difference. And this last one is relationship problems. So these people have trouble because they can't trust other people. They have trouble building and maintaining relationships. So they may have problems with boundaries. They may have problems appropriately mirroring other people. And so a lot of times what you'll see is that they'll just isolate, avoid other people because they feel like other people can't understand them. Many of these symptoms have significant overlap with borderline personality disorder, but there are several key factors that separate these two disorders. And I'm curious if you would like to see a video on the differences between complex PTSD and borderline personality disorder. If that would be something you'd like to do, let me know in the comments below. And finally, there are some important things to note about complex PTSD symptoms in terms of behaviors and thoughts and beliefs. And that is, symptoms of complex PTSD vary widely between people and even within the same person over time. So say for instance, a person can avoid certain people, places, or things, reminders of that trauma for years. And then suddenly they become interested in those things, and they may seek out those things or put themselves at risk by going after those things. Another thing to remember is that a person struggling with complex PTSD may have thoughts or beliefs that don't align with how they feel. So, intuitively, cognitively, they may know that they shouldn't go back to the abuser. You look around and they're back with them. So those are some important things to note about people who struggle with complex PTSD. Now you know how to recognize the signs of complex PTSD, and if you're interested in learning more about how to jumpstart your healing journey through complex PTSD, be sure to grab my Body Awareness Mind-Body Guide by clicking the link below in the description. Also, if you're interested in joining a tight-knit group of healers, survivors, and leaders, I've created a Facebook group where I share the latest advice, tips, tools, and strategies on how to resolve the effects of trauma and build resilience. You can click the link below to join. Well, that will do it for today. If you liked this video, hit the like button below and share it with your friends, and drop a comment to let me know how this video was helpful for you. If you want to see that video that I talked about earlier about the differences between complex PTSD and borderline personality disorder, let me know in the comments. I'm working on some things, and if that is something that you want to see, I'd be more than glad to oblige. And last but not least, please subscribe. If this video was helpful for you, hit that subscribe button, click that notification bell so that you'll never miss a video when I upload new content every single Wednesday. I'll see you guys next time. Have a great day. Bye.